Good morning, Susie, and welcome to this, for the time being, last content on the List Woman platform. You are uh, soon sailing to a faraway land, which is your homeland. You're going back to Australia, and it was wonderful to have you in this European group for a while, and we would love to hear some of your experiences. So welcome, good morning, and welcome.
Good morning, Laura. Thank you.
Maybe I will just say a couple of quick things to introduce the subjects. And Lace Woman, we just started this initiative last April, and you were one of the very first ladies, international business ladies, who accepted to join and to become one of the members. And you have been a great contributor, and I didn't expect anything less. I hope that it has brought something to you, Liz Woman, as in leadership of influence for successful business women was meant always from the beginning to bring together those ladies of power and influence who are often a little bit alone, because not only do we have a few ladies in key positions in business, but also when you are international, when you move from one country to another, or when you travel a lot and you work internationally, you are actually quite alone. And often I remember it myself from having small kids. You also are busy with a million other things, and it's always very hard to dedicate some time to yourself and professional network. So we started this professional network. You enthusiastically joined, and you were also in the middle of thinking out loud, what do I do? I came from Colombia. I spent some time in Norway. And then eventually you decided to take a job back in your country, Australia. So it was really busy. It was really a busy period. And we all loved your energy because you were contributing so much. We had great discussions together. So I would like to hear a little bit from you about your experience with Bliss Woman in general. How did you find it for the months when you were one of our pioneers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got so much from this group, and I always left our meetings. I always started our meetings sort of feeling a bit like, oh, it's the end of a really long day, and I still have all of these things to do. And then I would start this meeting, and I would walk away so energized and inspired. It was such an opportunity, not only to have, I had access to these renowned professional coaches and their advice every week. But really, I learned so much from the other women in the group, both from the questions that they were asking and the answers that they were providing. I have worked in several different industries, but they've always been very male-dominated industries. And I realized through this group that I always struggled to be fully myself in those spaces, that I was always suppressing part of myself in order to be seen as professional or to be seen as, in control, especially, having emotional reactions to things that might be happening. And I think the best thing that I've learned from this group is how to be fully myself in a professional context, and how to use my strengths, of the person that I really am, and how to use that to my advantage, both as a leader, as a professional, and as a human being, because we're still people in these professional contexts.
Yeah, you said a couple of very, very relevant things, relevant in the sense that we hear that from many of the ladies that are involved. The first is this: you make it up. You make the time for it, even if it is hard. Of course, we do offer the opportunity to meet every week at a certain point in time, every Wednesday afternoon, and you have to make an effort because we all know we have a very busy life. So you want to make the effort, and sometimes it's hard. End of the day, I still have lots of things to do, as you said, and then you mentioned that still at the end you gain some energy. That is one concept that we hear very often, that you get recharged, you get you find out that it is hard to find the time, but then you get you get something back. And the other thing that you said that was interesting was also this very tricky part about being yourself. And I found that many women feel that there is discrimination. We know about it. We interiorize it. It stays with us, even when it might not be a discriminate, a very difficult, challenging place. We are always thinking, do I show up enough? And so when we think that, we might not be completely ourselves. And we tried to make some rules at the beginning from the beginning of Lace Woman, about safety, about openness, about transparency, about no judgment. We have opportunities in these discussions to be ourselves and to practice how strong it is to be ourselves, because we are between women who share something, and we don't need to feel under pressure, and we set the rules of no judgment. How did you feel about it? Was it difficult at the beginning to be completely open and transparent? How did you feel about this rule about safe space, no judgment?
I definitely felt immediately safe, and I think that was really well established from the very, very first meeting. There was sort of a code of conduct. I knew how people would behave and how I could react. I think the challenge was that this, being a international group of women, and that we're meeting, by video every week. I think that it takes a little bit longer to get to know each other in that sense. But it did, we started, we're in this pandemic, so we're all very accustomed now to meeting by video. And of course, the great advantage was that that meant that I am now connected to, women in Italy, in the Netherlands, here in Norway, in Switzerland. And these are resources that I would not be able to connect to previously. So I definitely felt I was free to share. I felt that my context was slightly different in that I work in an industry that's mostly small businesses. It's, bigger corporations invest more, I think, in the professional development of their team. And I hadn't done the kinds of training or coaching that a lot of the women had done. But I never felt that was to my detriment. It just felt like, well, I just come from a different context. And that I learned so much from the speakers and from the other women who perhaps had done a little more of that kind of professional development that I had done. So it just became a resource for me. So yeah, I never felt, and I still felt that even though my context was different, that I had a lot of similar experiences. So many of the things that were brought up in our discussions resonated with me, and that I still had experience that I could share that could be helpful to the other women.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, since it is not really a program with a specific course or anything, it's not like you have to have studied before. It's a program that is articulated with some speakers, with some interactive training, but on general subjects that are useful for everyone, and don't require any specific background, and the masterminds, the moments when there is an exchange. And I think that it is important what you say, that it worked well, but it's always a challenge, because of course it is not a must to attend, and it's an opportunity. We build it as an opportunity. Every Wednesday there is something. If you can, you come. If you're not, you don't. But if you don't come often, then you don't have that. You don't build that familiarity with other people, and we've still missed the face-to-face. You're right. We've always planned that we would have at least one time per year an event all together. Things don't go fast on the front of safety, vis-a-vis the pandemic. And so we've been postponing. We hope to be able to do something like that next year. If you ever get a chance to travel to Europe, we would love to welcome you again.
I hope so.
We will see what happens. But yeah, it is a challenge. It's not all that obvious, but I'm glad to hear that you felt that it was possible to overcome that challenge of getting to feel comfortable with others. Tell me a little bit more maybe about that energy that you got recharged. Do you have some examples of something that specifically recharged you at the end of a day when you were tired and then you felt that exchanging, telling others about yourself, hearing from others, things got maybe a little bit better, a little bit easier than they were before?
Yeah, actually, the specific example that is still resonates with me was actually a meeting in which I was very passive. And I think I turned up saying, like, I'm just frazzled. I'm just here to listen to them. And one of the members actually brought a problem to the group that a colleague of hers was experiencing. And this colleague had come to her for advice, and she was asking us for advice on how do I help her. And it was a situation that was not specifically one that I've been in, but one that I could really relate to. And that she was extremely nervous about to walk into this big meeting where she felt that she didn't have a lot of power and was very concerned about having, extreme emotional reaction in this situation. And I really felt that. I really felt how many times I've been in this situation where I think I'm not in control of my emotions. I'm going to break down. I'm going to look so unprofessional. And the advice both from, the coaches running the meeting and the other women in the meeting was so enlightening and felt to me like I can apply this to so many aspects of my professional and personal life as a way of, that emotions are not a bad thing necessarily, that we don't have to see our emotions as something that is detrimental, but in fact something that is quite powerful that we can harness. But also ways of, that this woman could walk into this meeting without feeling like she was at a disadvantage, that this was going to be difficult, ways that she could see it much more rationally and with I shouldn't say rationally because that sounds like it's the opposite of emotional, but gain a different perspective and see it from a sort of higher perspective as well, rather than sort of when you're in this experience and it all feels like it's closing in on you. And I feel like that was the meeting where I walked away and I thought, brilliant, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that weekly. I feel like this is just going to help me in so many contexts, both where I'm nervous and it feels like a negative situation, but also in a positive situation. I thought this is just such useful advice. And it was, from a group, it was different perspectives, different ways of dealing with it. But I felt if I was that woman coming with this problem for her colleague, I would feel great that I could go back with this really concrete and helpful advice. But I felt like I have benefited as much as this woman from this experience and from this forum to discuss these things, where it doesn't even have to be something we're dealing with ourselves, but how do I lead, in this situation? How can I be a good leader, a good mentor, a good support for this other person in my organization?
Yeah, thank you, Susie. There's so much that is true in there. Also for us, I mean, for us, when I say us, I'm talking about the group of people, the four women who have created the steering team. We are both the organizers. We try to give the structure. We try to be present as often as possible. Maybe not four at a time, but but we're also part of it. We're also members. We're also international women. We're also part of the conversation. So yeah, some of us has a little bit more, as you say, coaching or leadership training experience, but we're throwing ideas, we're sharing experiences, and you just said it was not just the advice of the coaches. It was more like, how about this? How about that? Looking at things from outside our head always helps. It helps me after a long career, first as a manager and then as a coach, and it helps everybody. So getting out of your head is something useful, even when it is not your immediate problem or your immediate challenge, because yeah, we share so much, and when it resonates, you get something, and you get something from the group, from the discussion. It's not just you should do this. It's not a recipe. It's more like from a conversation that you get to hear different ways of looking at things from different angles. So we have such a pool of great talents in women, international women in business, and I hope that we can harness that together in a group. So I'm glad that you could benefit from it. And how about you personally, in your own life, in your own you've chosen to go to a new job. Did you feel that there was something interesting for you somewhere in discussing or maybe clarifying what you wanted, where to go? Was it
Yeah, absolutely. And you know well, because you were part of this process, that it was not an easy decision, and it wasn't a decision I was making just for myself, but for my family. And I think it was around that time we had a speaker, and I feel terrible I can't remember her name, but she presented her personal vision for her life, and she had this diagram sort of with the center and a bunch of petals around it. And that wasn't something that I had ever seen before or done before. I'm a marketeer. I have done it countless times for businesses, but I'd never sat down and thought, well, what is my personal vision? What is it that, that I am? What is my mission in my life? And so I actually did that exercise, and I sketched out my own flower, and I put my own petals, and, decided on, okay, what is it that I actually want from life? And then I did this exercise with my husband as well. He struggled much more than I did, but also, as I said, I'm a marketeer. I've done this process. I've thought of this way for businesses for so long that it wasn't that difficult to do it for myself. And that made the decision-making process just so much easier, because I could see, okay, staying here in Norway, well, it will meet these, goals that I have, or these parts of these petals, but moving to Australia will meet, more of them and help me achieve my, my mission, more than staying, where I am. So it was a time of great uncertainty and really big life decisions, and what felt like, nothing is irreversible, but it felt like decisions that would be difficult to undo, if that makes sense. Moving to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And it just gave me so much clarity in that time. And I think the week after that meeting, I brought it up in a mastermind, and we discussed it again. And I got some advice from the group, who, some of whom had done this exercise and some of whom hadn't, but maybe had thought about it in a different way. And I just got so much great advice from this group of women of how I can just create a guide for my life that just makes these decisions easier to make. I mean, they're never going to be easy. They're big and difficult decisions, but I'm going to have big and difficult decisions in my future. So I feel like now at least I have a tool that will help me make those decisions.
And it is very interesting that you never know which tool is going to work. And so that is an interesting thing. It wasn't a specific leadership trainer or a coach or anyone. It was actually one of ours. It was Imika, one of the members, because once in a while we have one of the members presenting, and she's a Black woman from Nigeria. She had an international career. She's a top person in a key large company, and she's an inspiration, but it's not her job to be a coach. But you see that is what you get. You get different bits and pieces, a multitude of hints, and then eventually find the right ones that is really helpful, because it is a practical perspective from someone else in a similar situation. You have also contributed a lot, and I know that you are always talking about how you're grateful about other people helping you and others' advice, but you have made a great contribution. You've helped to highlight certain key points. What do you feel about what you have contributed to the group? How do you feel? Does it make you feel, I don't know, proud, stronger? What that you have contributed as well?
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. I feel like I've been on quite a journey in that respect. I mean, I'm a doer and a joiner, is what my mum would say. Someone who's always signing up and saying, "Yep, I'll get stuck in. I'll be involved," and not someone who will sit quietly on the sidelines. But I've always, at the same time, felt, especially in a professional context, that I needed to rein that in. Don't look too eager, or don't stomp over other people, or don't take up more space than I should. And certainly something that I've learned from the group, and certainly Monica especially, has been really good at teaching me that this is who I am. Bring it. That I have to rein that in, just be aware that this is what I contribute. I also know I'm somebody who I'm easily amused. I smile a lot. I get energy from being sort of in a group of people. And so several people commented that I was always smiling or laughing on the video feed. And that was something else that I learned was being more aware of the impact that I had, be it, conscious or unconscious. When I walk into a room, how are other people responding to me? And this was one of the things that I learned to embrace. I am an optimist. I'm an idealist. I will always try and find the good in something. And this is what I bring. Understand that this is who I am, and this is who I will be in these meetings, in these spaces, in these conversations. I'm going to bring a smile. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to try and find the best of any situation. So I really feel that I began being, contributing, but also sort of like, oh, let other people speak and don't say too much. And then, but I think the end, just like, no, this is, me, this is what I'm bringing. It's my
You took your
contribution.
space, absolutely. And I want to, when you mentioned the impact, I want to really, really congratulate you with that one specific memory that I have of one of your interventions with the courage, because when we talked about impact and we wanted to try, you were the first one to say, try it with me. I want to get the input from the others. I want to know not only the positive impact that I make when I'm at my best, but also, the impact that I have when I'm not at my best, and what, other suggestions I can get. And this smiling thing came out when it is natural, and you really do it because you are solar, you're optimistic, you're a force of nature and inspiring. And when you do it because I should, then it is not as effective. And so being aware of that was important for you. But gosh, you had the courage, and others that said, just tell me the positive part. I need that today. I need a booster. You go head on, and you want everything. And so yes, you have decided often to show up even when it was hard. And I have that one memory, but many others. And I want to congratulate you and thank you and wish you all the best for the move. And I hope that we continue to stay in touch like we have been. We met in Bogota. You came to Oslo. You joined the team. You're in Australia. I might come and visit you.
I'm sure our lives intertwine again.
Thanks. Okay. And so I want to offer you a token of our appreciation for you being one of our pioneers. I have a little box here. I don't know if it is visible. And I want to offer you this. Let's see if it is possible to see it on the video. I would like to give you the award of List Woman Pioneer. Can you take it?
Yes, thank you so much. That's lovely. Thank you. I would be very proud to display this in Australia.
Thank you so much for being a part of creating this network of international women, influential, impactful. You have made a fantastic contribution to all of us. And maybe one day you'll get back to us. Maybe, who knows, we will create an Australian cell of that. For the time being, thank you so much for being with me again today. All the best for you and your wonderful family. And let us know how it's going.
Yeah, thank you, Laura, and thank you to the steering committee and all the amazing women of Liss Women. I'm very sad to be leaving, but I'm absolutely certain our paths will cross in some way again in future.
For sure. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank
Laura.
you so much. Bye.